I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Happy holidays, guys. It's that time of year again. The time where everybody rushes to Amazon to buy all their shit for all their friends and family. This year, since all of you are now my friends, I'm asking you for a favor. I don't need you to send me anything for Christmas, but I appreciate the thought. What I would like for you to do instead is to do all of your Amazon shopping through Amazon. Well, that's easy, right? I'm not asking too much. There's one thing I'm going to ask you to do. To get to Amazon, I need you to go to FascinationStreetPod.com and click on the Amazon banner on my homepage. Nothing will be any different, and then do all of your Amazon shopping as you normally would. The only difference is that you're walking in through the door that's marked Fascination Street Podcast. It tells Amazon that you love me, and they throw a couple of shekels my way for everything you purchase. That's it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And happy holidays from Steve Owens and Fascination Street Podcast. From now until December 31st, 2018, the James Beard Foundation is accepting nominations for the 2019 James Beard Awards. And I invite all of you to join me in nominating Chef Stephen McHugh from Cured in San Antonio, Texas, for the 2019 James Beard Award for Best Chef Southwest. I've made it easy to do this, guys. If you go to FascinationStreetPod.com and look to the right of the page, there will be a photo of Chef Stephen McHugh. When you click on that photo, it will take you to the 2019 James Beard Award page. You will need to create an account, but that'll only take about 60 seconds and they don't ask for much. It's really just a name and password kind of a thing. Once you've created an account, it will take you to the nominations page. From there, you'll click on the 2019 Restaurant and Chef Awards, and then complete the submission form, making sure to select Best Chef Southwest as the category. It's that easy, guys. All it takes is 5 minutes of your time, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So thank you in advance, and now let's get to this week's episode. Welcome back, folks. This episode is with Randy Will. Randy Will is a 3-time Olympic bobsledder for the United States men's bobsledding team, as well as a gold medal winning coach for the U.S. men's skeleton and Jimmy Shea. I met Randy when I was on a recent trip to Wyoming. And in this episode, we talk about why Randy decided to be an Olympic athlete, as well as what it was like to compete in his first, second, and third Olympics, and what made him decide to become a coach for the skeleton. He also drops a bomb about what he's been working on recently and who it's for. Enjoy, guys. This is 3-time Olympic U.S. bobsledder and gold medal winning skeleton coach, Randy Will.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street, Randy Will. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderfully. How are you?
I cannot complain.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, because all I do is complain, it seems like, lately, because I am a spoiled brat. So
that's good.
So if anything doesn't go my way ever, I just throw a complete fit like a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
So here in San Antonio, it is 47 degrees and raining, which is a little bit unusual for us. Well, what's it like where you're at? Where are you right now?
I'm just left Park City. I had to drop off a sled there, and it's sunny. It's beautiful. It's 32 degrees. It's just gorgeous outside, and that's what the West Coast brings us. Beautiful weather.
Very cool. Why did you have to drop off a sled at Park City?
Yeah, I had to run to Park City really fast. Someone had an emergency on a sled, so I said I'd help out. So I'm running back, but I'll be in Evanston in just a few minutes.
What constitutes a race emergency or sled emergency?
When someone doesn't have a sled.
That would do it.
That's an emergency. It's like, okay, you don't have a sled. I'll help you out.
Well, it sounds like you're certainly the person to make that phone call to if ever in need.
Yeah, so I ran down. I actually had an extra one. So I was like, okay, I'll be right there. So she was all excited. It's a female skeleton slider
Oh, cool.
from the Virgin Islands. So we'll see what happens with it. I don't know.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'll be back down in the morning just to make sure she's got everything running right. And, the testing goes well and all that. So we'll see.
Well, that's very
But she
cool.
liked the sled. So she says, God, this sled's badass. I said, it's a good sled. So let's see what no one's ever been down it on this one. So it's a brand new one.
Oh, you're loaning somebody a brand new skeleton sled?
I know. Isn't that funny?
You are the nicest guy ever.
Well, that's what I've been told, but nice guys finish last. You know that, right?
I do know that. I mean, I'm barely able to loan somebody a movie.
I know, and that's the problem with societies today is we used to do it for everybody, our neighbors, and help them out and do everything, but then all of a sudden we get screwed, and then no one does anything for anybody anymore. It's like it's only for, I'll do it to get something out of it. What's in it for me, right?
Wait a minute. Did you just say I'm what's wrong with society?
No. I said that's the problem with so many people. I have been screwed by so many people, by so many different neighbors and stuff like that. But unfortunately for me, I just keep going on with this crazy thing.
Well, that all sounds really, really sad for the state of our society.
Well, how many people do stuff out of the goodness of their heart, I guess.
I could probably count them, like the people that I know, I could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yes.
And 40 years ago, you would find hundreds of people that would do it. Your neighbor, oh yeah, I'll do it. Now it's society's changed.
Yeah.
Sad, but I still do that.
The last house I lived in, we lived there for 12 years. I only knew 2 neighbors, and it was
That's it. Wow.
There was 5,000 houses in my subdivision, and I knew 2 neighbors.
Is that down in Texas?
Yeah, in San Antonio.
Okay, because my cousin's down there. He's got like 5,000 people in his subdivision. It's just crazy, and he really doesn't know anybody.
Is your cousin in San Antonio?
No, he's down in Dallas.
Oh, okay. Now, Randy Will, where were you born? Where are you from?
I was born in New York, of all places.
The Big Apple?
Yep, New York. Born and raised. Lived there till I was age 12. Loved it, and then we moved up to upstate New York, way upstate.
Like Saugerties upstate?
Yeah, just up in the boonies.
Nice. So
yeah, moved from the city to what I call rural America. That was pretty cool, and had a lot of friends. One of my best friends is still there. He's a dentist, and I just had a great time there.
A dentist? That means he's off on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, that's what he says. I don't believe it, though. He works a lot.
That seems to be the case with every dentist I try to go to on a Friday. They're like, oh, no, sorry.
Yeah.
So, did you go to college, Randy?
Yes, I did.
What was the goal? Like, when you were growing up, what were you going to college to become?
The main goal was very simple. In 1972, I was watching the Olympic Games on TV, and I said to my dad as I'm watching it, I think I was only 8 years old at the time, I said to my dad, that's what I want to do. My dad laughed at me. He says, that's what you want to do? Okay. Well, my dad was a track and field athlete from University of Virginia, a damn good track and field athlete back in the 50s, and could have went to the Olympics, but chose another route, did his thing, and I told him what I wanted. And as time goes on, I actually was a ski racer of all things. Just moving upstate New York, I got into skiing, got really heavy into ski racing, and then I was good enough to be named to the U.S. development team in 1982-83. And then, unfortunately, in 1983, blew my knee out, and my Olympic dreams were done at that point. I didn't see anything until someone had mentioned to me at the Olympic Training Center while I was doing rehab. They said, I have an idea. Why don't you try bobsled? Same time, I was also going to college.
Okay, so how old were you when you were on the U.S. development ski racing
team?
Yeah.
I was 18 years old. I attended the Green Mountain Valley School in Waitsfield, Vermont. Basically because I couldn't attend a regular high school anymore because I was taking all the time off to go to races all the time. So they said, you're going to have to go to the ski academy and just race out of Vermont. I left home at age 14, was on my own, basically had to learn how to do my own laundry and fend for myself, and just, it was a prep school, but really you had to learn how to do things for yourself. I had a class of only 13 people.
That's amazing.
The funny thing is, the two of us have made the Olympic team. That's what's crazy.
So your dad was a track and field guy. What made you pick a winter sport?
Well, I got pushed up to upstate New York and was thrown into ski racing, and I had the dream of, I always, from 1972, I got to make the Olympic team. I've got to make the Olympic. That's all I cared about, making the Olympic team. That's what was number one. And honestly, I was not a Carl Lewis. I was fast. I had some genes left over from my dad, which is good, and I was good in the 400, halfway decent in the 200. But I had some wheels, and I didn't think about it. I did run track and field just for training a lot. I mean, I ran track and field all the time, but I was a ski racer. And it fit in so well after my accident where I blew my knee out at Copper Mountain, Colorado. I blew that in 1983. After that, I was in rehab, and the guy next to me by the name of Donnie Haas, he said, why don't you take over bobsled? Because I'm a bobsledder. This could be good. And you have the dream of the Olympics. Next thing I know, 3 years later, I'm in the Olympic trials, and I won them.
After 3 years?
After 3 years, I was able to make a very nice transition from ski racing to bobsled. I understood gravitational forces. I understand to be light on your runners, to understand how to steer and everything. And so instead of using my legs, I used my arms, my hands.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
It just made a great transition.
Instead of using your legs, you use your arms. Now, in bobsledding, that doesn't translate very well, does it? Because don't you have to use your legs, like, a lot?
For pushing, but I was a runner as well, track and field. So I just started training track and field totally. That's all I cared about. Became the fastest pusher for the United States for the drivers. Became the Rookie of the Year in 1985 for U.S. bobsled under the Olympic Committee.
Wow.
And then I set my very first world track record in 1987 as a 22-year-old. Unconscious, didn't know what I was doing, just having fun. And I didn't care about, all I cared about was still the goal from 1972. I only cared about the Olympics. I got to make the Olympics. I have to.
Where did you set that record?
In Lake Placid.
And that's a dangerous track, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was the old track, the very old one. It was, and they shut it down because it was too dangerous.
So at the time, it was
but when you're 22 years old, you don't care. You don't care about how fast you're going, what you're doing. You're just unconscious. I'll do it. I look back now at 54 years old, and I said, was I nuts? That was stupid. Really was dumb.
Okay, so you finally realize your goal, your dream, to be an Olympic athlete, and I don't know a lot about the Olympics. Does that pay you well enough to, pay your bills?
There's no payment at all. I lived by working as a waiter, working for my grandfather in a pizzeria, working for my aunt in a bakery, do whatever I could, anything I could just to make enough money to hold me over through the winter.
That's some dedication.
Yep, it was. And that's the whole thing. It was dedication. I have my kids now grown up and in college and everything there. And I said, hey, listen, just stay in school. Focus on it because your education will get you there. What I went through was a pretty hard life. It was really tough because you didn't have a new car all the time. You didn't have the new jeans or anything. It was just, hand to mouth. Oh, my God, you're looking through the dryer for quarters. Oh, if I get enough quarters, I'll be able to buy a loaf of bread. Freaking A, this is great. I got enough for this week.
And it's not even your dryer.
No, it wasn't. No, I was renting a place. I was training up in Lake Placid. I was doing everything I could just because it's the dream. You live the dream.
Okay,
I guess it's no different than a guy who's in a rock band. You live the dream.
I guess that's true. Like when I was young, like you were, and like you were in 1972, and you were watching the Olympics, and you said that's what you wanted to do. When I was watching the Olympics, I was like, what planet are these people from that A, they have the skill, but also that they're so good that they're like the best in the world. So we come from totally different places. I was like, that shit is crazy. Never me in a million years. And you were just like, no, that's me. I got to do it. That's me. Where do you think?
I don't know what sparked it. I have no idea. I can't tell you what sparked it. All I know is that's what I wanted. I saw it. I can still remember the TV in front. I remember everything about it. And then I do remember specifically, it was in Munich, and then the terrorist situation. And then I realized that Olympics wasn't just one thing. It also had to do with politics as well. And I said, why don't they just let them run? Why are they shooting them? That's not right. It's not right.
Well, that's...
And as an 8-year-old, you're like really confused. Like, I don't get it. Why? Because all these people want to do is run and swim and do everything else. I mean, God, Mark Spitz was like my hero. Holy crap. How could this guy do what he's doing? This is incredible.
Indeed. So what was your first Olympics? Was it 88?
88, yeah, in Calgary.
Calgary. Okay, so let's set the stage. It's 1988 in Calgary, Canada, the Winter Olympics. You are on the U.S. men's bobsled team.
Yep.
Are you the driver?
I'm the driver, yep. It's funny because when I won the Olympic trials, it was just several months before in Wittenberg, Germany. That's where we had the trials. They brought the top 12 U.S. teams. We all collided together in Wittenberg, Germany for the Olympic trials. 8 races, top guy goes. And it's funny, I still remember winning the trials, getting off the sled, and then coming back up to the warm-up hut where everyone was, and, there's a lot of congratulations and all this. And the coach, who at the time, he was on the Olympic team in 1980 and 84. He was then the coach, Jeff Jost. And he said, feels pretty good, don't it? I said, it feels like I've never felt like this. He says, you wait. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I'm going to tell you this once, and I hope you understand. So I listened. I'm only 23 years old. I'm like, okay, Jeff, what do you got to tell me? He said, it might feel good now, but when you walk into the opening ceremonies, for the very first time, you walk through that tunnel with your nation, with the flag and everything else, and all of a sudden it hits you like a ton of bricks. Just look at me and tell me what you think. He was so right. He said it exactly how it was. And I remember it. To this day, I still remember it.
Interesting.
It was just an achievement that happened like, holy shit. This just really happened. I mean, someone pinch me, it's not a dream, because everything that I've worked for, it happened.
That's amazing. So, what did are your parents still alive?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're fine. They're actually just hanging out, traveling all over the world, hanging out, 80 years old, loving life.
Sweet. So what was their reaction? Because I know that when you named your goal, your dad said you're crazy. So what was their reaction?
Well, it's really weird. I mean, that's what's weird. I always had my parents' support, which is number one. That was amazing because my dad saw that I had a goal. My mom's a doctor. My dad's worked with IBM, total professionals. And to hear a guy who wants to go in the Olympics, it's like, really? Well, first, when I started ski racing, they said, okay, we'll support you. We'll do this or this. I blew my knee out. The ski team let me go. They said, you're finished. You're done. No more. And then when I had the guts to call up my dad, now remember, we didn't have cell phones back then. It was just a payphone and something else. Hey, listen, he's like, so where are you going to go to school? I said, I'm going to give it one more shot. And there was silence on the end of the phone. He goes, and? I said, I'm going to be a bobsledder. Well, you could have heard a pin drop. Like, are you kidding me? You're still going to do this. I said, just one last, I can't just let it go without trying it one more time. Because if you don't try it once, you'll never know. So I did. I had their support, and I really got the support, I guess, when I really started to come on strong and set the new track record in Lake Placid and did all that in 87. They were really positive. But again, there was no social media back then. There was no cell phones. There was none of that.
Yeah, there wasn't even the internet, I don't think.
So at the Olympic trials, which was November of 87, when I'm over in Europe, I have no way to communicate with my parents, and they're waiting there for a month with no word. How do we know? They'd call up the Olympic Committee, any word, and they'd say, well, this is what's going on. We heard, after 2 races, this is what's going on. And my parents are nervous wreck. I mean, if I was in that situation, I'd be throwing up. I'd be so nervous. What do you do? So I handed it to my parents who are really sticking by me and just say, hey, we're here. But, again, no cell phones, no social media, not even email. There was no emails back then. We didn't have anything.
That's amazing. But
we did do it. And, their support was the number one thing.
I hear that a lot with the different people that I talk to that are successful in whatever their chosen field is. And almost exclusively, it comes down to an intact family that is super supportive. And sadly, I think we're getting away from that. It's sort of been a topic on the show a lot, but I think that's kind of becoming the downfall. Families don't really stick together anymore. Dads just have kids and then fucking leave.
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
It's terrible. It's terrifying, really. But
Yeah.
But let's talk about Calgary. So you're in Calgary. It's the Olympics. You're a badass. You're the U.S. bobsled driver. Now, if I remember correctly, Calgary was when, I think Jamaica, isn't that when they started? When
Just
they had
started. Yes. Jamaica started.
So
And it was funny because they came to me and they said, hey, you don't happen to have an extra 2-man laying around. I said, believe it or not, I do. And I'm not going to use it, so I sold it to them.
And so when you say a 2-man, you mean a 2-man bobsled, right?
Yeah, 2-man bobsled. I wasn't going to use it.
Interesting.
I had brought 2 of them to Calgary with me, and I had it there. And I said, I don't need this sled. You guys want it? I'll give it, I'll sell it to you.
Wow. So you were there, front row for the movie, I guess, Cool Runnings, right? For the real version.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
The real version, yep.
in the movie, the Jamaica bobsled teams, after they crashed and they were out of it, supposedly, according to the movie, and I don't know if this is just the Disney part, but all of the Olympic athletes from all of the other countries embraced Jamaica and cheered them on and were like, hey, you guys are the best. Is that all true?
No, not at all. even the sled sitting on their shoulders as they're walking up the finish ramp. Nope, untrue. It never happened. It was just good sensationalism. It was very good sensationalism.
Gotcha. That was the one part that didn't really.
That wasn't their very first time. They had been there a year before. For a whole year, they've been training and on ice in Lake Placid and in Calgary and in Innsbruck, Austria. They had been doing quite a bit. It's funny, the whole story of it really happened from a gentleman by the name of Howard Seiler. Howard Seiler was the one who really started it. He was at a bar called P.J. O'Neill's after the 1987 season, 86-87 season, and we're all sitting around the bar because it was the last day, it was in March, and we said, Howard, where are you going? He says, I'm actually going down to Jamaica to go get warm and, sit in the sun because we're tired of Lake Placid. And Howard was an official for the Olympic team and everything. And then the bartender said to David Heim, who was there, I was right there when it happened. The bartender from P.J. O'Neill said, hey, you guys should put together a bobsled team from Jamaica. That would be so cool. Just like that. And that's how it started. Howard goes down there, and that's how it started.
Wow, and you were there for that?
I sure was. I remember it. I'm very lucky to be where I was and see what I saw. But I remember where it was. Unfortunately, Howard died last year, 2 years ago. He died of cancer, and but he was helping Jamaica out quite a bit, helping them with coaching, but then he got brought in to be one of the officials for the Olympic Games in 1988.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you finish in the Calgary Olympics?
Very frustrating. Got into a horrible altercation with our other drivers from the U.S. There was 3 of us all together, 2 of them, and then the coach got into a horrible altercation because I had won the pre-Olympic test event just a couple of months before in December. Fastest 4-man, just kicked everyone's butt, did great. They wouldn't even let me run.
Are you serious?
So I got there. I'm serious. Yes. It was, if you remember a guy by the name of Willie Gault. Remember the speedster Willie Gault?
I do.
Yeah, Willie was with Chicago Bears, and Willie was put on my team.
Really?
For the Olympic Games. Yes, he was. He was there. We were both there. And they refused to let us run. They said, nope, we're not letting you guys run. And there was I don't know what the politics were. Maybe I was just a young kid or whatever. I said, well, I just have to wait. So I was there on the team, running, doing everything. I was sliding alongside of them, putting down the best times, doing, in training runs. And then when it came time for the race, they only let 2 sleds per nation. They let Brent Rushlaw's team and then Matt Roy's team take over, and my team, that was the fastest team in the World Cup, in everything else. We were the number 1 team for the U.S. They didn't let us go. So, nope, we're not letting you go.
What the hell?
Yeah, well, welcome. It's the first time I really got a good taste of sports and politics. And that's when I went back and I remembered in 72 saying, remember the Israeli conflict and everything, the terrorists. And then I said, wow, it's not just sport anymore. You've got to be much more well-rounded, and you got to get smart on things. You can't be dumb. You can't be just, athletics. It's not what it takes.
So I always thought of sports, like professional sports, as like a true meritocracy where, the best one wins or at least gets to try. That's really depressing, man.
You thought. It is. It's very hard. I mean, I can't tell you time and time again that all the time. There's so many of our athletes out there that are truly the best and should be out there, but they don't get a chance to run. We don't know why. You might piss somebody off in the higher-ups or something.
That's insane. How come you didn't...
When just a couple of months before, Jeff Jost, the head coach, and I were in very good relationship. Everything was cool. But then we got to the Olympics, and it wasn't cool anymore. I was like, what did I do? I might have gotten cocky. I'm not going to give all the blame to him. It might have been me. I might have done a lot of things.
Well, doesn't a professional athlete have to have a certain amount of cockiness and bravado to even attempt to do what you're doing?
Well, they have to. Oh, yes. You have to do it. But I think, I was a young kid at 23 years old. I was kicking royal butt. Everything was great. I mean, even the Swiss, who were, won the gold, they had picked me. They had even come and said, you're going to win the gold medal. You know that. No one's going to touch you. You're flying. And I got cocky. I'm like, yep, that's right. I am.
Ouch.
And it just didn't sit well with the people that were in it. So it's what happens. Life goes on.
Okay. So at this point, you have trained your ass off, and arguably you're the best in the world at your sport, at least the best in your country at the sport. And,
yes, at that point, yes.
And you were denied the opportunity to participate. So how come you didn't quit right then? How come you didn't quit?
Well, I didn't. I said I'm going to come back the next year, the next season. And I called it, I said, it's a take no prisoners atmosphere. My team at that point had just said, oh, we're retiring, we're done. So I had to get a whole new team. So I went out to track and field meets, found a whole bunch of track and field guys. I put them all together, got the team. And we had what they call the very first races of the season called the World Team Trials. And they were in Calgary, of all things. And we just had the Olympics, but, 8 months later, we're going to have the World Team Trials in Calgary one more time. So we get there, and I've got my new team, and we blistered it. We destroyed the old track record from the Olympics by 2400ths of a second. We annihilated it. I said, yep, I just wanted to put that down to show what would have happened. So I did that, and that to me was like, okay, I know what would have happened, and it felt good.
Now, you just said you annihilated the record. Did you say 24/100th of a second?
Yeah, 0.24, yeah, in one heat.
And that is annihilation?
That is.
Wow.
When you figure everyone wins races by 2, 300ths, 400ths of a second. In the Olympics this year, it was a tie in the two-man. They tied to the 100th of a second.
Good Lord.
But when you're beating someone by a quarter of a second, that's an annihilation in just one heat.
Wow. That is impressive.
Well, that was just the record. From the next U.S. team guy, who was number 2 behind me, I was already a second ahead of him per run.
Per run?
We were that much faster. Per run. We were flying. It was ridiculous. And I do save all the timesheets from, as archives. I save everything just so I have everything.
Hell yeah.
Still to this day, I have everything.
I would too.
I just do.
Okay, so Calgary, you didn't get to participate. And then when is the next Olympics? Is that 92?
92, yep.
And that was in?
Albertville, France.
Albertville, France. Okay.
Yep.
Now, were you on the team in Albertville?
Oh, yes. It was the number 1 U.S. team, number 1 four-man pilot.
Now, this is a scary question. Were you able to participate?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
yep.
cool.
I was ranked second in the world coming in. 3 weeks prior to the race, my coach, who I'd used for the past 4 years before that, he's a guy, Peter Keenest from Austria. He dies of cancer in front of me.
Oh, my God.
Died.
So
I was a little devastated, and everything was, I didn't know what to do, and then they threw a lot of stuff at me. We want you to put Herschel Walker on your sled. I'm sure you heard about that.
Why all these football players? Is it because they have the explosiveness and those giant thighs?
Explosiveness and speed, yeah. So they wanted Herschel Walker. They tried him, and I said, hey, listen, I'm second in the world right now for the whole season. We've been kicking ass with the team I have. I've been doing great. I don't want to change anything. I want to be consistent and stay consistent and do everything. And they said, no, we're replacing your number 1 brakeman, Chris Coleman, with Herschel Walker. I said, that's insane. Chris is number 1 brakeman in the world. And they said, nope, we're going to do that. So the coaches were making the stuff. My coach had died. So I was like they threw a new coach at me. I'm like, who is this? I don't know. There's no relationship there. There's no nothing. I didn't know what to do, let alone I didn't know what, to look for mechanics of the sled at that point. I was just, everybody would ask, why are you kicking Herschel Walker off the sled? Because I said, I'm going to kick Herschel. He's not good enough to be on the four-man. I need Chris Coleman, who has way more seasoned ability. He's faster. He's everything. So in the end, I ended up taking 9th overall.
Ouch. Because you had Herschel?
No, I had him, but just I was kind of messed up at that time. I didn't know what was going on. I was just not paying attention to what I really had to.
Gotcha.
I was too worried about everything else. I just got caught up. Unfortunately, it was right after being ranked number 2 in the World Cup. I was like, oh, God, this is frustrating.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 92. Now, did they have another one in 94? Am I right about that?
Oh, they had another one in 94, yep.
And that's the only time in history that the Winter Olympics were that close, right?
Yeah, they did that because they had everything else. The summer and winter were together in 92, and then in 94 it went 94, 96. 96 for the summer.
Gotcha. So now we have Olympics every 2 years instead of every 4,
yep.
But now we alternate summer and winter. Okay. So
that's what they do, yeah.
Where was 94? Was that Lillehammer?
Lillehammer, yep.
And did you get to go to that one?
Of course, I got to go to that one. I was the number 1 four-man pilot again. Was ranked 3rd in the world going into that one. And unfortunately, there was a lot of problems with that one because we were in the middle of bringing the Bodine guys in.
Well, I don't know what that is.
Jeff Bodine, he was the race car driver, and he wanted to build sleds for the U.S. team.
A race car driver wanted to build sleds for the team?
Yeah.
How random is that?
Only 1 year before, he's never built sleds, he's never seen sleds, he doesn't know anything about it. So he did hire some very good engineers, and these guys are smart, and it would take them a good 15, 20 years before they got really good at what they were doing. But within only a few months, they wanted me to get in their sled right away. I said, I'm not comfortable in the sled. I don't like how it drives. I don't like it. It's not fast. So why would I do it? But they kept pushing me to it. Unfortunately, I left my sled in their garage the night before. I was using a sled that I had built with Italian parts, basically, and they called it Italian, but it was something that I had made. And the unfortunate thing about it is that it just, I don't know what happened. I brought the sled out the morning of the race, and it was a dog. I said, someone screwed with my sled. I don't know what they did. I couldn't tell you. All I know, it was like having sandpaper on the run. It was like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Your own people?
Well, if I did well, it would have killed their business. Their business was to make bobsleds and make a lot of money and get a lot of grant money from the Olympic Committee. They had gotten paid $1.3 million just to build a couple of sleds.
I'm sorry, did you say $1.3 million?
Yes, they got paid $1.3 million to build a bunch of sleds. And just think about it. If someone comes out, if one of your U.S. guys wins and does really well on a sled that's not theirs, what does that do to their business?
Well, sure, it tanks it. So that means
exactly
$1.3 million. So are you in the sled making business?
Me? No.
Why not?
Well, because these guys are getting grants. These guys are getting all this stuff. They're all these engineers from MIT and all this other crap. There's no money in it or anything. It's just garbage.
That sounds awesome. So how did you know how to make your own sled back then?
Just over time, just a lot of help from a buddy of mine, Donnie Haas, and just knew a lot about fiberglass and composites and knew a lot about metal. Studied metallurgy in school, did a lot of engineering, mechanical engineering. And it was sure basic. I mean, they give you blueprints. I mean, this is the rules. This is what you have to hold to. So what can we do to go around them a little bit? Change this, change that. Let's see what we get out of it.
Now, do you still build sleds?
I'm in the middle of just finishing off one for the Jamaicans.
What?
Yeah.
A 2 or a 4?
A 2-man for Winston Watt.
Well,
he called me. My girlfriend and I were at dinner this summer. He called. He said, would you be interested in doing that? I said, I haven't touched the sled in years. I don't know. I can do it. He says, you're the only one I want to talk to. Could you do it? Could you do it? You're the only one. I said, well, you say it that way. What the heck? I might as well do it.
And how do you know Winston? Is it just from running the Olympics together?
Winston, and we were at the Olympics together. We've, seen each other over many years. He's always a friendly guy. He lives up in Evanston, which is only, an hour from my house.
And where do you live?
He's just a friendly guy. I live up in Bear Lake, Idaho.
Idaho? Oh, okay, man. Good Lord. Boy, I tell you what,
right on the border of Utah.
That Evanston that little town area thing, that's so close to everything. I mean, you got Utah, Wyoming, Idaho. Good Lord, you got everything right there.
Well, I picked it because I needed something quiet.
Oh, Evanston is definitely quiet. That area.
Yeah, well, where I'm at is
definitely
even way quieter. I mean, if there's 30 people in my town, I'm lucky. I did it because with all the many, many years of bobsledding and ski racing and those, I've sustained numerous, and I mean numerous TBIs.
What does that mean?
traumatic brain injuries.
Okay.
Because of the traumatic brain injuries, I was diagnosed with TBI-induced Parkinson's disease.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I still can keep going, but I get tired very quickly. I'm medicated. I'm good, but I can't handle too much stress. It'll get to me after a while.
So that's why you don't live in a big city? The traffic.
Yeah, I couldn't do it ever again. Plus, I'd probably start falling asleep. I'd be like, I can't deal with this, and I get tired quickly.
All right. So back to where we were in the story. So 94 is Lillehammer.
Yep.
And you get to participate there. Now, is that the one where your coach had just died? Is that Lillehammer?
No, that was 92.
Okay, that was
92
Albertville.
was Albertville. That's where Peter Keenest passed away 3 weeks before. That was so hard on me.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm sure that
Yeah,
I
I still look back at it like crazy. I don't know why I do that, but I do.
Well, I think that you guys built such a relationship based on trust and encouragement and knowledge, and then, that person is gone, and I'm sure that y'all spent a lot of time together for a lot of years. I mean,
we did. I mean, oh my God. We would spend hours and hours just in the car talking, going from one facility to another and just talking on the track and being, we'd lived with each other. It was almost like a husband-wife deal, but it wasn't. It was just knew him inside and out.
Well, I'm sorry about that. So tell me about Lillehammer.
It was just a crap fest. It was cold. It wasn't fun. I was the odd man out because I wasn't using the Bodine equipment. So my team we were the disrespect team, they called us.
Wow.
We had no respect at all. Rodney Dangerfield team. We got nothing. We were just treated like crap, and that's what we were. And at that point, I was like, I think I'm ready to finish. I really do. I think my career is done.
Okay, so at this point...
only 29.
At this point, you're 29. You did the Calgary Olympics, the Albertville Olympics, the Lillehammer Olympics. That's 3.
Yep.
Where was the next one? That would have been, I guess, in 98?
Nagano, 98.
And did you end up quitting after Lillehammer?
I ended up being the coach of the team.
Of the bobsled team?
Yeah, I wanted to be the coach and be the development person for Park City. So in 1998, Park City had just opened prior to the Olympics, so they thought it would be best for me to stay in Park City and focus on working on getting new people like Steve Holcomb in there.
Okay, now, 98 was in Nagano, but you're in Park City.
Yep.
So does that mean you didn't go to Nagano?
No, I didn't. I didn't go to Nagano. I stayed home just to work with the domestic guys, the guys that weren't on the Olympic team, one of the development guys.
The guys who are going to be on the next Olympic team.
The guys who are going to be the best, later on, which was good because, I had coached Jimmy Shea all the way through to 2002. I was Jim Shea's in the skeleton, his personal coach, and he won the gold medal in 2002.
Okay, so Jim Shea was the skeleton. Now, the skeleton is basically a one-man bobsled where you go down face first.
Correct.
And there's no cage. It's not
no body, no nothing. It's a skeleton of a sled, basically.
It's a toboggan.
That's right.
Okay, and so you coached Jimmy to a gold medal for the U.S. Olympic men's skeleton team. Congratulations.
Yeah, I started coaching Jimmy in 1995.
Well done. And
I took over the personal coaching for him 2000 through 2002. I just coached him. I didn't work for anyone else, but just coached Jimmy.
Wow. And that takes you all over the world doing trials and competitions things like that,
we had won the world championships. We had won bunch of World Cups. We'd won everything, and then the big one was the Olympic Games for 2002.
Okay, so Jimmy got a gold medal. Did you get anything as the coach?
Yeah, I got an attaboy.
Well, that is awesome. And here's why I asked.
I got an attaboy. But remember, you know why? I always say this to all the athletes I ever start coaching. It doesn't matter. If you ever look at me like, oh, you've been to 3 Olympics, you coached this. I said, you know what? That's great. But that and 75 cents still buys you a cup of coffee at McDonald's. It really doesn't matter. It was fun to look at and fun to remember, but that's it.
So the reason that I ask is because, I was scouring the internet looking for, doing research, if you will, on you, trying to maybe find out some things I could ask. You are almost non-existent on the internet.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It is. Even on Jimmy Shea's Wikipedia page, it doesn't mention you.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by that.
Yeah, but then you'll have to read his book that he's writing. I just left Jimmy a little while ago. We're best friends. We see each other almost every day, all the time. And in his book, you won't believe it says everything about it, about us and how we did things and all the stories we had and all the goofy shit. I know on the internet there is very little. There's no pictures of Randy Will. There's no nothing. It's almost like I was written out of everything, which is odd.
It is.
Which blows my mind because if you look at, I'm very statistical in my studies, and I went through the entire Olympic teams from 1924 through 2018, okay? There were a total of bobsled drivers that made the Olympic team, 41. There are 41 people that have made from 1924 through 2018 that have made the Olympic team as bobsled drivers. There are only 4 of us that have ever been drivers for 3 Olympic Games.
And still, nary a mention on the internet.
Nothing. And those the people that were there was Todd Hayes, myself, Jim Bickford. There's another one in there. But there was only 4 of us. That's it.
That is amazing. John Candy has more of an Olympic presence than you do.
Yes, he does. Isn't that weird?
That is egregious.
It is. It's hard to fathom. It's hard to understand. But you know what? I didn't do it for that.
I know.
I did it for myself, so I can look back and say, yeah, I remember. And everyone else that was involved in it, that counts, they remember.
Well, you better write all that shit down and take some pictures because once you start getting old, if you start to lose your memory, how are you even going to know?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
No, it's terrible. I'm laughing, but that's terrible. Okay, so.
It's correct.
You are in Park City with a development team. You're working with Steve Holcomb and a couple of other kids. Now, Steve Holcomb, I believe he passed. Is that correct?
Yeah, he died. Yep.
You don't
May
have
7th.
May 7th?
Yep. My memory is amazing. I have an incredible, I guess they call me, I guess I'm autistic in a way, because I can remember every date and every time from everything.
Are you an excellent driver?
Oh, yeah.
I'm an excellent driver. You're Rain Man. Hey, so.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but how did Steve pass?
Steve passed he had a blood alcohol level when they took the toxicology report of a .18, which is 3 times the limit, basically. And then he also had Lunesta in his system, quite a bit of Lunesta, and a few other downers and stuff.
So was there a car accident?
His lungs filled up with fluid.
Oh.
He fell asleep at the Olympic Training Center. He was getting ready to go for training camp on May 7th, 2017.
At Park City?
No, in Lake Placid.
Oh, shit. Well, yep. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure y'all were friends.
Oh, yeah. Very good friends. And I couldn't believe it. It was just shocking. But what can you do,
Wow. I'm sorry.
Only the good die young.
I guess so, right? Live fast and leave a pretty corpse, I guess.
Yeah.
So you were a 3-time Olympic athlete. Did you just coach Jimmy for 1 Olympics?
Yeah, he only made it to 1. Yeah, after that he was just getting older, and he put it all into 1, and that was good.
Very cool. So after Jimmy wins the gold medal in skeleton, then what are you doing?
I owned restaurants.
What?
I owned 3 in Salt Lake City, 2 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and 1 in New York.
What the hell?
Worked my ass to the bone. Coached my daughter in track and field. She was a cross country. She's not a sprinter. She's a cross country long distance athlete. And then that's pretty much about it. Tried to just be a normal guy. That's what I do. I just work and I work and I work. I did get divorced in 2012.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, that was good. I mean, I should have done it sooner.
Well, but the reason I say congratulations is because when it finally does happen, it's long overdue.
Yep.
So,
way long overdue.
Yeah.
It should have been done way before.
So tell me about these restaurants.
Well, it was really simple. In 1999, I had left the Bobsled Federation, and I was working for another company, which was a composite company. I didn't like what I was doing. I hated it. And I talked to my grandfather who had restaurants, and he was getting ready to retire. He's in his 80s. And I said, "Hey, Pop, I want to do that." He says, "Why the hell would you want to do that?" I said, "Well, I just want to do it." I said, "Can I use the name, the family name, Nevole, Nevole?" So I did. It's Italian.
So you had 6 Italian restaurants called Nevoles?
Yep. And then I sold them after 17 years. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2010.
Gotcha.
So I tried to keep it going, but by 2015, I said I just can't. I physically can't do it. Should have been in a wheelchair. It was that bad.
Why did you have your restaurant so spread out?
Well, because I originally started in Utah, and then after they were successful and it was going good, then my ex, she said, I want to move down to Lake Norman, North Carolina. I'm like, why? Well, there's nothing there. What? We don't have a family. We don't have anything there. Oh, yeah, we're going to love it. So I go down there. It was really nice. I mean, it's beautiful, gorgeous place. It was in 2007. I said, I can do a restaurant here, so might as well start it. Let's do this. I had good people, which I still stay in touch with to this day.
Why did you have one in New York?
Because after a couple of years in North Carolina, my ex says, I want to move back up to New York. My family's up there. I said, I told you you weren't going to be down in North Carolina. I mean, believe me, I lived the life. Let me tell you, I lived the life. I lived next door to Kid Rock.
Oh, yeah? In Detroit?
In Denver, North Carolina. Kid Rock has a place in Denver, North Carolina on Lake Norman.
Well, how kick-ass is that?
I mean, I lived the life. I had Michael Waltrip as my one neighbor. I got Kid Rock as another neighbor. I'm like, holy shit, I've got a 5,000 square foot house with a tennis court and a swimming pool, multi-million. I mean, this thing is gorgeous. And my wife decides that she's going to move up to New York and just to be with the family. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I've got 2 restaurants here in Charlotte. It's only me. I don't come home. I don't do anything. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. So I ended up selling that. And I said, I'm going to move up to New York, be with you. I got to New York after 1 week. The wife says, no, you're out of here. I don't like you being around me. Goodbye. I said, but I sold everything and moved up here for you. I'm starting a restaurant in New York for you, to be with you and everything. Nope, I don't want to be around you.
Well, that's awesome. Sorry about that.
That was awesome. Well, like Jimmy Shea and my best friend and a lot of other people said, God, why didn't you get rid of her sooner? She's such a bitch. She's just intolerable. She's just horrible. She's nasty. Why are you dealing with it? I said, because I took a vow. I take a vow. I hold to it. It's like, but not if it takes your life, bud. That's not cool.
Indeed.
That's when I realized it. Yep.
This book that Jimmy Shea wrote, is it out yet or is it about to come out?
No, it's in the middle of being written right now. They have a writer from Atlanta, and it's being paid for by people from, Caesar's Palace.
I was going to say, not by people from Bodine.
No, because you know what's funny is, I built all Jimmy's equipment. That's the funny shit.
Really?
Yep.
So you built the equipment and coached the gold medal.
Oh, yeah. You'll see in the book. It's all there. If you ever watched the show Trading Spaces, Jimmy and I did the show Trading Spaces in 2004, the Olympians edition.
No shit.
Remember that? Trading Spaces with Paige Davis?
I barely remember it.
Ty Pennington, that's where he got his big start.
Oh, yes. Now it's all coming back to me.
Yep.
So if you're that good at building sleds, why don't you?
Because I physically can't anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. So,
and also, another reason, getting athletes that are poor to pay for them is impossible.
Huh.
Think about it.
Yeah.
They can't afford a car. How are they going to afford a sled?
So that leads me to the question of, you must really, really like Winston Watts if you are making him a sled.
I do. I like him. I like him a lot.
You must.
It's also another thing that he's 51 years old. He's a physical monster specimen that is just unbelievable. And it sure would be a nice shot in the arm just to come back at one last thing and say, hey, look what this fucker did. Who's old. You forgot about him. Oh, yeah, and the old guy who built the sled, he just did it for shits and giggles and just blew your mind. Took your $10 million budgets to build sleds, and the guy who built it in a garage on a shoestring budget of maybe $2,000 built this thing, and it kicked your ass. What does that tell you?
Pardon me for saying this, Randy, but shut the fuck up. Did you say about $2,000?
I said about $2,000. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Wow, that is
amazing.
amazing.
I don't have a degree from MIT, but I know how to go faster than guys at MIT.
Can you make little ones?
And I'm not afraid to go faster, huh?
Can you make little ones like about the size of a tennis shoe?
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about that. That'd be funny as hell, wouldn't it?
That'd be crazy. Well, hats off, man. I can't wait to see the finished product.
It's looking good.
How long until it's done?
Probably have only about 5 more days left of it to do. That's it. It's pretty much done. I mean, it could go down the hill now. It's just finishing it, light work,
Wow.
Mechanically, it's totally ready to go down.
Oh my gosh. Is it painted? Are you going to paint it?
No, I don't want to paint it. That you go to a pro. You hand it to a guy and say, "You're the pro." I just put it together. I do the machining. I do the welding. I do the composites. I do all that. I put it together, and then I'll hand it to the guy and say, "There you go. Paint it. Put a nice piss on it."
That is amazing. Well done, yep. Randy Will.
And
well
it'll go
done.
fast. In fact, Jimmy Shea was looking at it last week. He goes, "Holy crap." He says, "This is the sled for Will." I said, "Yeah." He says, "It's too fast for him." I said, "How do you know?" He says, "Because I can feel it. We have a feel. I don't know what it is, but it's like a guy who makes pizza. He doesn't have to look at it, but he can feel it. Make sense?"
It absolutely does. I mean, you got your 10,000 hours in a long, long time ago, so it makes sense. It makes sense that you could feel it. That's so kick-ass. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you feel it. So let's see what happens. I don't know.
So, Randy...
I think I'll see Winston here in about an hour.
Oh.
See if he's around.
Well, tell him I said what's up.
I will.
Now, I did meet you when I was down there. I was actually standing there. I had just met Winston, and I was talking to him.
Winston, at his car dealership.
Yes, and he was doing some touch-ups on a car that my wife had just bought from him.
Okay.
And it's a little blue Mini Cooper.
Yeah, Mini Cooper. They're awesome.
Yes, and she was there for 3 months working, and she just needed something, so that she wasn't renting a car because that was wildly expensive.
Yeah.
And she was going to sell it, before we left, but then we just decided, fuck it. We'll just drive it home and keep it and have a third car. So it still has the Jammin' Jamaican license plate frame on it.
Oh, that's freaking funny. Isn't that great?
It's awesome. We love it. And when I went to register it at the, for Texas, the people in the office did not believe me that we bought it from a 4-time Olympic Jamaican bobsledder.
Isn't that funny as hell? I know.
It's so funny.
It's good stories.
It is good stories. So what's on the horizon for you? You're going to finish this sled, and then what are you going to do?
Then what I'm going to do? Try to stay healthy. Right now, my goal is to try to stay as healthy as possible and just do whatever I can for my girlfriend and be there for her all the time.
Have you thought about writing a book?
I have thought about writing a book. I actually have, because there's a lot of interesting things I could put in there. I was in East Germany when the wall came down.
Shit.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I saw it all.
Do you have a piece of it?
I have stories I could tell.
Do you have a piece of the wall?
A piece of the wall?
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I was actually way in East Germany. I was in Dresden, past Karl-Bachstadt, which is Chemnitz. I was way down in there when it happened. We had come in when it was still East Germany, and by the time we left, it was all unified Germany. What happened?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I got to see a lot of things. I remember when Desert Storm had started, we had flown over the night of the invasion, and they met us there in Zurich, and the Secret Service says, if you want to go home, we'll send you guys home if you want to go home. They said, no. We were like, no, we're there. But they said, but you guys are going to be targets with USA. I said, well, don't put USA on us. So they gave us all Swiss uniforms, and we looked like the Swiss.
Nice.
Isn't that funny?
It's hilarious. Are you saying that you were out there when it changed from Desert Shield to Desert Storm?
It was in 1990, 91.
My wife was in the Navy, and she was on a Navy hospital ship, and she was out there in the Persian Gulf when it changed from Shield to Storm.
Holy shit, that was just a firestorm, wasn't it?
It was, because her boat was a giant white boat with a big red plus sign on it. I mean, it couldn't be any more of a target.
Oh, yeah. And at that point, they just wanted to fire on us and everything else. But we had so much firepower that we literally, in hours, we annihilated them. It was done.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That was annihilation.
Going back to the annihilation we started talking about with your 24/100ths of a second. Same kind of annihilation.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, Randy, as we're winding down, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
No, not really. Just I hope that the U.S. team guys in the future do really well. I really hope for the best of those kids because they're good guys. These guys are good people.
Very cool. Are you on social media at all?
Me? No. I mean, I got a Facebook. That's about it.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, Randy, I really do want to thank you so much, man. This was an awesome story.
Thank you.
You are an inspiration, my friend. It was an honor to actually get to meet you and shake your hand.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I cannot wait to see the sled.
Well, you'll see it. I have your number, so I can send you pictures through this, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I will.
All righty. Well, Randy Will, thank you so much for taking the time with me to hang out on Fascination Street and let me get to know you a little bit better, along with all my listeners.
All right.
So thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, this is Steve Owens from Fascination Street Podcast here with a very important message. I'm awesome. I bet you thought I was going to say something else, but nope. What's important here is that I am awesome. I started this show because I truly believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear those stories. In the short time I've been doing this show, I've interviewed actors, directors, writers, inventors, podcasters, musicians, pro athletes, Olympic athletes, actual war heroes, even a Bond girl and a luthier, whatever the hell that is, and of course, regular people. From people who wanted to be stars but never gave it a real try, to big company CEOs and people who got to meet their favorite president. I love getting to meet and speak with people who have a story to tell. I feel like everyone does, and it's my job to get them to tell it. You never know who my next guest will be. An Academy Award-winning actor, a platinum-selling musician, or your own mother-in-law. But one thing is for certain, you will be fascinated by their story. So come take a walk with me down Fascination Street. You can find Fascination Street Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, FascinationStreetPod.com. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.